7 wars that changed the world. Wars are actions of mankind that are considered as very devastating in the history of mankind. Wars have a life-changing impact which proves to be very deteriorating in a peace-loving universe. Below are given a list of 7 wars that had a very big impact on the history. 1. Mongolian Wars. Mongolia had always had a very fruitful history. They are a community of people who never were underestimated because of their overwhelming history. Genghis Khan, the ruler of Mongolia, a man of brutal action, was the leader of the Mongolian tribes. Inventing new ways of fighting, Genghis Khan introduced the world, the Mongolians, as one of the fiercest tribes in the world. The Mongolians invaded almost most of the major parts of Asia and Europe. It is said that most of the people of other countries used to get goosebumps as they heard the name of Mongols. Mass suicide killings were occurring on large scales in order to escape the Mongol invasion. 2. World War I. The first of the only 2 world wars, the World War was a great havoc in the history of mankind. It started around 1914 and came to an end in 1918. The human race never saw something like this, and shortly after this the League of Nations was established, but it faltered later. 3. World War II. The second of the Great World Wars I and II. The Second World War started around 1939 and ended in the year 1945. This was much more devastating than the First World War. A total of 70 million fatalities were recorded during this war. The main calamity that occurred during this era was the dropping of the atomic bombs in Hiroshima and Nagasaki in Japan by the US. The Japanese also regard this as a retard action of the US. 4. The Sepoy Mutiny of 1857. Started with the killing of a British officer by a soldier named Mangal Pandey. This war shook the rule of the East India Company, who were replaced by the throne of England. This war is considered as one of the most important wars in Indian history. 5. Napoleonic Wars. We are all familiar with the French Revolution, which occurred in 1789. Napoleon Bonaparte, the leader of the French revolutionary community. They were against the regime of the French emperor, and opposing him, the French installed the Bonaparte on the throne. And then from there onwards, started a series of wars which ended with the Russian invasion of 1812, taking a life toll of 6.2 million lives and bringing the French Revolution to a halt. 6. The Manchu conquest of China. The ancient history of China saw a quarrel between most of the dynasties, as there was much of a tug-of-war for the throne of China. During the 17th century, there was a great aggressive and futile rivalry between the Ming dynasty and the Qing dynasty. It caused a destruction of over 25 million lives, with the end being the victory and rule of the Qing dynasty. 7. The Gulf War. Perhaps everyone is introduced with the name of Saddam Hussein, the revolutionary leader of Iraq. When Iraq invaded Kuwait in 1990, Saddam Hussein, the leader of Iraq, challenged the world peace and also broke the conventions that were prevailing as per the Charter of UN. After failing to comply, the UN gave up. The US-led coalition of 34 countries, which was known as Operation Desert Storm. Saddam Hussein was hanged to death shortly after this war.